Okay. The Golden Sayings of Epictetus, 140. What art thou thus insatiable? Why thus unreasonable? Why encumber the world? But I fain would have my wife and children with me too. What are they then, thine and not his, that gave them? His that made thee? Give up then that which is not thine own, yield it to one who is better than thou. Nay, but why did he bring one into the world on these conditions? If it suits thee not, depart. He hath no need a spectator who finds fault with his lot. Them that will take part in the feast he needeth, that will lift their voices with the rest, that men may applaud the more and exalt the great assembly in hymns and songs of praise. But the wretched and the fearful he will not be displeased to see absent from it. For when they were present, they did not behave as at a feast, nor fulfill their proper office, but moaned as though in pain, and found fault with their fate, their fortune, and their companions, insensible to what had fallen to their lot, insensible to the powers they had received for a very different purpose, the powers of magnanimity, nobility of heart, of fortitude, of freedom. 141. Art thou then free? A man may say, so help me heaven, I long and pray for freedom, but I cannot look my master boldly in the face. I still value the poor body. I still set much more on its preservation whole and sound. But I can point thee out a free man, that thou mayest be no more in search of an example. Diogenes was free. How so? Not because he was the free personage, for that indeed was not the case, but because he was himself free. He had cast away every handle whereby slavery might lay hold upon him, nor was it possible for any to approach and take hold of him to enslave him. All things sat loose upon him. All things were to him attached by their slender ties. Hadst thou seized upon his possessions, he would rather have let them go than have followed thee for them. Had it been even a limb, or mayhap his whole body, and in like manner relatives, friends, and country, for he knew whence they came, from whose hands, and on what terms he had received them. His true forefathers, the gods, his true country, he never would have abandoned, nor would he have yielded to any man in obedience and submission to one, nor in cheerfully dying for the other, for he was ever mindful that everything that comes to pass has its source and origin there, being indeed brought about for the real of that his true country, and directed by him in whose governance it is. 142. Ponder on this, on these convictions, on these words. Fix thine eyes on the examples, if thou wouldst be free, if thou hast thine heart set upon the matter according to its worth. And what marvel if thou purchase so great a thing at so great and high a price, for the sake of this that men deem liberty, Some hang themselves, others cast themselves down from the rock. Time has been when whole cities came utterly to an end, while for the sake of the freedom that is true and sure and unassailable, dost thou grudge to God what he gave when he claims it? Wilt thou not study, as Plato saith, to endure not death alone, but torture, exile, stripes, in a word, to render up all that is not thine own? Else thou wilt be a slave amid slaves, wert thou 10,000 times a counsel, not a whit the less, though thou climb the palace steps. And thou shalt know how true is the saying of Cleanthes, that though the words of philosophy may run counter to the opinions of the world, yet have they reason on their side. 143. Asked how a man should best grieve his enemy, Epictetus replied, by setting himself to live the noblest life himself. 144. I am free, I am a friend of God, ready to render him willing obedience. Of all else I may set store by nothing, neither by mine own body, nor possessions, nor office, nor good report, nor, in a word, aught else beside. For it is not his will that I should so set store by these things. Had it been his pleasure, he would have placed my good therein. But now he hath not done so. Therefore I cannot transgress one jot of his commands. In everything hold fast to that which is thy good. But to all else, as far as is given thee, within the measure of Roman reason only, contented with this alone. Else thou wilt meet with failure, ill success, Latin hindrance. These are the laws ordained of God. These are his edicts. These a man should expound and interpret. To these admit himself, not to the laws of Maurice, Masurius, and Cassius. (145) Remember that not the lover of power and wealth sets us under the heel of others, but even the love of tranquility, of leisure, of change of scene, of learning in general. It matters not what the outward thing may be. To set more by it is to place thyself in subjection to another. Where is the difference then between desiring to be senator and desiring not to be one? Between thirsting for office and thirsting to be quit of it? Where is the difference between crying, woe is me, I know not what to do, bound hand and foot at I am to my books, to what I cannot stir, and crying, woe is me, I have not time to read, as though a book were not as much not outward thing and independent of will, as office and power and the reception of the great. Or what reason hast thou, tell me, for desiring to read? For if thou aim at nothing beyond thy mere delight of it, or gaining some scrap of knowledge, thou art but a poor spiritless knave. But if thou desires to study to its proper end, what else is this than a life that flows on tranquil and serene? And if thy reading secures thee Not serenity, what profit it? Nay, but it doth secure it, quoth he. And that is why I repine at being deprived of it. And what the mercy of the emperor or emperor's favorite, but such as trembles at a raven's croak and piper's din, a fever's touch, or 1,000 things of like sort. Whereas life serene has no more certain mark than this, that it ever moves with constant unimpeded flow. 146. If thou hast not malice and evil speaking from thee altogether or in some degree, if thou hast put away from the rashness, foulness of tongue, intemperance, sluggishness, if thou art not moved by what once moved thee, or in like manner as thou once were moved, then thou mayest celebrate a daily festival today because thou hast done well in this matter. Tomorrow in that, how much greater cause is here for offering sacrifice than if a man should become council or prefect. 147. These things hast thou from thyself and from the gods. Only remember who it is that giveth them, to whom and for what purpose they were given. Feeding thy soul on thoughts like these, dost thou debate in what place happiness awaits thee, and what place thou shalt do God's pleasure? Art not the gods nigh unto all places alike? See they not alike that what everywhere comes to pass? 148. To each man God hath granted his inward freedom. These are the principles that in a house create love, in a city concord, among nations peace, teaching a man gratitude towards God and cheerful confidence, wherever he may be, in dealing with outward things that he knows are neither his nor worth striving after. 149. If you seek truth, you will not seek to gain a victory by every possible means, and when you have found truth, you need not fear being defeated. 150. What foolish talk is this? How can I any longer lay claim to right principles if I am not content with being what I am, but am all aflutter about what I am supposed to be? Okay, I will stop there. I will begin again next time on 150. Okay, thank you.